Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin, and we're going to get right to our guests. We've got Councilman Jeff Griffith, Lubbock City Councilman Jeff Griffith. I don't want them to think that you're a councilman of some other city there. But Lubbock City Councilman Jeff Griffith in the studio, talk a little bit about what happened yesterday at the city council meeting, and honestly, quite a bit got unveiled yesterday. So, how's it going, though?
Very well. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, and
Pleasure to be here.
We need to put in a plug for Jeff Griffith. He owns Radio Lab. Long time. How long has Radio Lab been in Lubbock? Back into the 50s or 40s?
75 years, 1946.
Jeez, yeah. They started. That's when it's called Radio Lab, because back in '46, all the radios, everybody had a radio, and this was really before television.
Television, Dave, didn't hit until 1952.
They were all tube type.
Yes.
And it was very common that you had to replace the tubes in your radio.
Mm-hmm. My dad used to make me stock the tubes when I was a kid in the 60s. Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, anyway, that's got to be Lubbock's oldest business.
I think we're one of. There's several, but
Sampson Plumbing. I think we looked one time. I know Woody Tire was a client of mine. Yeah. Woody Tire has been here since like the 20s.
Brothers Jewelry, I believe. Yeah. W.D. Wilkins, I believe, is also two that are older. But
anyway,
very blessed to still be going after 75
There's not
years.
many of you that's been here since 1946, I'll tell you. Anyway, glad to have you out this morning.
Thanks.
Gosh, I'm looking at this story that Channel 11 quoted you this morning, and the council's proposing $174.5 million for street improvements. That includes the Broadway bricks. And I'm telling you, Matt is he's a Twitter about that. He's just, he hates your Broadway bricks.
Well, I don't know. Actually, there's not a lot of information on here. What is the plan for that?
That is, and let me first address this because Broadway is the one street that we feel like is the corridor between Texas Tech and downtown, and then further east to McKenzie Park, to the Canyon Lakes. And so that it is a very, very important street for our city. Our committee believes that, and the council agrees with us, I believe, that we want to keep Broadway historic. The components of that, if you've traveled it, you know how difficult it is because of the age of it. It's over 100 years old in the majority of sections of it. So it would be a product of historic brick, but it also, we will use other products too in some parts of it. So this isn't a exact yet. Not to defer the question, but the design isn't exact yet.
So let me ask you, does this have anything to do with any of the other streets downtown right now, this bond? No?
No. There is something going on downtown that I hope the listeners will appreciate, and that is that Avenue K, L, and M are being returned to two-way instead of one-way streets. So please, everybody, as you're coming downtown, be on the lookout for those changes.
Yeah, watch the signs. Don't go down the wrong side on a one-way street. I'm a two-way street now.
Matt, it happens. It's unbelievable. It happens every day, repeatedly, that folks are going the wrong
people
direction.
Got used to it.
It's some being one way downtown and some not.
Yeah,
is more difficult and confusing as our city's grown. And a lot of folks that come down there for business, they may not be down there on a daily basis. So it's hard to recognize which ones are one way, which ones are two way.
Yeah,
well, and in Lubbock, you don't have a lot of one-way streets. I mean, it's not something people are used to.
Right. Good point.
Well, Councilman, let me ask you something. I mean, for one thing, you look at this number, $174.5 million. And that's going to be in a bond election for the citizens to vote on in November.
Yes.
That's just a staggering amount of money. But can you give us some idea? What is any idea, a ballpark number maybe, of what this is going to cost each household?
And that's a reason that we are proposing to put it on the election for the citizens to vote on in November, because right now, with historic low interest rates, we feel like the timing is right to ask citizens to approve this. The way that our debt roll-off is at the city, this doesn't have as much tax impact as what one would think. It really is about 2 cents on that particular component. It will peak at about 3 cents increase. I need to pull the chart up, and it's very fine print on my iPad this morning. But the bottom line is, yes, it would increase the tax rate 3 cents, but then it goes up a little bit. Then it starts going down again very rapidly because of the way our debt roll-off is. And to understand bond debt from a municipal standpoint is that you've got to look at the big picture. That's what we've been analyzing for many, many months, y'all, is that you don't want it just to go up. It's all about hitting it right to where it goes up a little bit, then it rapidly falls.
Yeah.
According to KCBD, the increase would be about 3.31 cents. So.
And the arterials that will be voted on, Matt, will be really relative to about a little over 2 cents of that. The 3.3 is included in the COs that we started approving last night, which have to do with a fire station, Erskine, which is a public safety component on Erskine between Frankfort and Milwaukee. The other component is dirt streets.
Yeah.
Those we're doing on a separate bond.
So I'm looking at the list we have here, and one street really popped out at me, and I told Dave, I'm like, what, didn't we just do this street? We got 34th, and I know that between Slide and Quaker, and then there's the gap there. I guess a lot of that's the stuff that was worked on, and then you go to Avenue Q and do it on out through Avenue A.
Yes.
So what part of Quaker was originally worked on?
Okay, 2009 was the last time we had a street bond, and the approved back then citizen approved street bond was 34th Street between Avenue Q and west to Indiana. Now we were able to maximize some engineering there, and we actually ended up being able to finish from Indiana to Quaker. So the middle segments of Q have been done. It's the Quaker to Slide in front of, like, Coronado High School is area that is really, really bad. And we've been holding off doing that until we get this approved, if the citizens want it. But on the east of Q is very, very bad also. And so if folks drive that, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, in my committee, I have to applaud Councilwoman Sheila Patterson-Harris and Councilwoman Latrell Joy, because they put up with me several hours driving, and we analyze this. This is about, if you, and by the way, I need to bring this up. That one segment of 34th Street between Quaker to Slide is the only listing on here that's actually in my council district. We took off our territorial caps, if you will, and said, we've got to analyze the entire city. And if you look at the list, you'll notice it hits the entire city. As the growth continues to happen, we have to address 114th Street. No doubt about it. That's another one. We've got some segments done, some need to be done.
Okay.
Public safety.
Let's. It's 7:17, and we have City Councilman Jeff Griffith in the studio with us this morning. If you'd like to ask the councilman a question, our text lines are open at 806-680-2790. We'll be back with more after this. And we are back here on KFYO Mornings. Dave King, Matt Martin, and again, City Councilman Jeff Griffith is with us this morning. And Councilman, as we were talking during the break, one of the biggest things that I see on our KFYO audience, one of the biggest issues that we constantly hear from our audience is it's crime, Lubbock crime. And then they relate that a lot of times to police, and we need more police, and we need more police pay. Your thoughts? How's that going?
First of all, it is the heightened topic for us going into the budget. And this is something we knew was coming up, and I totally agree with the listener in that, and I've said it many times on your station, crime is our number one issue in Lubbock, Texas. There's no doubt about it. We've talked about gang violence. I've told you the stories about riding with the anti-gang drug task force. Let me tell you, from my standpoint, it is number one, public safety, and police deserve a pay increase. There's no doubt about it. When we get to the formula in the budget, I think that this will get solved. It's gentlemen, it's about retention also.
The council are for a pay increase?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I don't have to take a vote. There's no doubt that everyone knows that our police need an increase to be competitive compared to other departments across the state.
And we're 40 police short.
Yes, retention's a problem. Let's be honest. With the national scene, as great as Lubbock is, not everybody wants to be a police officer anymore. It takes a special individual to want to protect and serve the public. And I'm humbled by what they do. Let me tell you, it's incredible. And we have a great force. But they deserve an increase, and I applaud the Lubbock Professional Police Association has been proactive. The bottom line is they didn't just go, hey, we need a raise. You know what? They came to council and said, we believe we need an increase, but here's also a solution of how to fund it. So I applaud those men and women of the Lubbock Professional Police Association. So
the Lubbock Professional Police Association, I think they've been doing an ad campaign and really pushing that. I think they said 14% is what we're below the average for a city this size or comparable cities. Is that even in the ballpark, something like a 14%? That seems like a huge increase. Is that what the city council is looking at, or are they looking at something a little more modest than that?
I don't know that the council really won't get into this until budget workshops here, Matt, in a few weeks. But the bottom line is we've got to get them competitive, in my opinion. We have to get them competitive. We don't want them leaving. We need the retention. We need to keep a great force on the streets. But the bottom line is you've got to analyze the data within the budget, make it work. An increase it's not going to be it's not, in my opinion, it's not going to be a 2 or 3% increase like a lot of businesses do. This is going to be in my opinion, I'm going to push for a more substantial. I don't know the exacts yet.
Yeah.
We have a texter this morning who says, does Jeff support a blue ribbon citizens commission to advise how federal money the city is about to receive will be spent? I think Councilwoman Harris suggested this.
Yes, that actually was brought up last night. We had I might address this, in our work session, the CFO of the city of Lubbock advised us of the federal dollars and what we know to this point, and I mean to this point being as of yesterday, there's still analyzation of how those dollars can be used. It's not, it's just
how
like
much
CARES
is the city
Act,
getting?
$52 million.
Okay.
CARES Act, we appreciate what we got from the CARES Act, but the bottom line is, a lot of times with federal, and this money's federal, doesn't go through the state, but the state or federal government adds layers of, you could do this or you can't do that with those dollars. We need to not jump on anything. We need. I said last night during the council meeting, we need to do our budget and then readdress this. There'll be more talk of it in here in 2 weeks. So as far as the texture, I will address that. We're elected officials, and we do know, in my opinion, of how to wisely use the funding. And no offense to anyone else, we're going to have a lot of public input, no doubt about it, on this $52 million. A lot of public input. But I don't know that we need another commission.
So one thing that I think they've made pretty clear is that you can use it on infrastructure. So why wouldn't you use this to lower the bond that you would need for?
Can't use it on streets.
Can't use it on streets at all?
No.
Okay.
Well,
not as of yesterday.
We're coming up on the 7:30 break here on KFYO Mornings. Dave King, Matt Martin, and again, City Councilman Jeff Griffith with us. Text lines are open. Questions for the councilman, feel free to shoot us a text at 806-680-2790, and we'll be back with a little bit more right after this.
Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We've got Councilman Jeff Griffith in the studio. And Councilman, I did have a question. We're looking at police pay right now. Has anybody done an analysis on fire department and other first responder pay from the city of Lubbock compared to other cities?
I have not looked at fire in quite some time. I believe the city administration does that quite often, but I have not personally looked at other departments. The police right now has been the only one that have analyzed data from other cities across the state. To your point about the 14%.
Yeah. So on the upcoming November election, there's also going to be the upgrades to, or potentially the upgrades to the charter. Have y'all looked at those that the committee has proposed, and are y'all looking at passing those forward to being voted on?
Yes, there'll still be council discussion. The city council still has the authority to take, obviously, what that committee, and I applaud that committee. I think they did great work, and they did it in quite rapidly. They met. They worked. They burned the midnight oil, as they say. But that will still be analyzed in a future city council workshop, basically to narrow down their 11 recommendations, basically, and see where we go from there.
Well, we have a texture that says, where did the $700,000 annual savings for the demolition of the Coliseum and Auditorium go?
Into the general fund.
Okay, there you go. That's the
into
answer.
the general fund. The Coliseum Auditorium vote, I know a lot of folks, I was definitely for that as we analyzed that on the facilities committee, but, we do have a replacement product in the works for dirt events, but that the county's working on. I will tell you.
We had Judge Parrish on yesterday, and I think, what did he say, Matt? They were meeting today, maybe,
Yeah.
about that. And so it is beginning to make progress.
Well, appreciate
No, that's a
what
county-
Judge Paris.
That's a county project, isn't
Yes, absolutely. And that was something that was, in all transparency, we had, as we evolved in making, we had an ad hoc committee talking about a future project to replace that. The previous Chancellor Duncan was involved. Lots of stakeholders were involved in making sure before we brought that vote as to the Coliseum going back to Texas Tech.
I don't know how anybody could complain about losing that Coliseum auditorium now when you look at the Buddy Holly Hall.
Exactly,
and that was built with private money,
right? And that's $700,000. When I said it goes in the general fund, it goes to the Civic Center, where it still goes into the Civic Center budget. That's where it went.
That Buddy Holly Hall, I'm surprised at how used it is. How much it is used. We've got an event in there like every other day, it seems. We've got ZZ Top coming. They announced just a few days ago, and we've got country acts and just on and on and on. And then, of course, the symphony orchestra.
Yes.
It's it's incredible. It is a jewel for Lubbock, I think.
I totally agree and applaud what they've done, and it'll only get better.
I agree.
I think the Broadway stage acts will follow soon.
So, were there any other big discussions yesterday that happened besides the bond?
That definitely is the biggest one. Obviously, again, we heard on the American Rescue Act, which is the federal funding that will receive the $52 million. Some of that, and Judge Parrish may have touched on this yesterday. We are in discussion with county because the city and the county need to work together on some of these possible projects. City of Lubbock is all in Lubbock County, as we know. And so it stands to reason that the city and the county need to work together with their funding and the city's future funding to make sure we're very efficient with those dollars, very careful with those dollars. That's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, and as he was telling us yesterday, the other major issue you have is that they're very, very specific on what you can and can't use it for, and they've been changing it, and it hasn't been, I guess, solidified as a final, this is what you can and can't do. And then once it does become final, it's if you don't use it exactly how they want you to use it, they're going to take it back.
That's why, honestly, we're taking baby steps, Matt. We're not jumping out there and go, oh goodness, here's this free fall of money from the federal government. You have to be respectful of every dollar of it, and let's be wise in how we use it. But we got to make sure that yes, it's used on those particulars.
It is 7:42, and time to take our, coincidentally, our 7:42 break. Councilman Griffith with us this half hour, and we'll return with a lot more right after this.
Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We're sitting here with Councilman Jeff Griffith, Lubbock City Councilman, and we've been talking a little bit about bond issues. We've been talking about money from the U.S. government. We've been talking about other things, but the Texas legislative session, we haven't talked about it yet. How did that go for the city of Lubbock?
I think fine. I haven't studied. Obviously, know the governor announced yesterday there was going to be a special session, so I don't know that we're through, but I think fine. I don't have a real comment. I haven't studied it. I've been in over my head over heels with streets and future budget, so I really haven't studied it that well. But I don't see any glaring issues.
We have a texture that says, what about some of these bonds that have expired or set to expire, like Allen Henry Water Bond? Are we going to ever expect to see money flow from those expired bonds?
Okay, great point. Let's talk about that because remember that water bonds, the water is because you pay for water, that's what we call an enterprise fund, not in the general fund. And so the enterprise fund means that there's a revenue stream independent of tax money or sales tax money. When I say property tax or sales tax money, which fund the majority of general fund. But enterprise fund, like water, yes, the Allen Henry bonds are slowly to come off, and how that affects is in water rates.
Yeah.
So it's directly correlated to your water bill.
Yeah, and you leave that alone because you don't want to take money that and we were talking about this during the break. I mean, how blessed are we that we have Lake Allen Henry and our other water sources. Lubbock's in a fantastic shape water-wise, and I feel bad for folks in some parts of the country that are having difficulty with water. We are so blessed in Lubbock. But those water assets, when you basically pay your water bill, that either water in your yard or drinking out of the faucet, that's directly correlated to a rate, and those dollars that are funded that infrastructure and water always get turned back into water rates.
I'll tell you, one thing I just do not understand is these water towers we're building. I think we're building 6 new water towers. There's a story about it this morning talking about the weather has caused a problem and a delay, but the one at 50th and Indiana is going to go up next. I don't understand. Where is the water? Is it in the
bowl?
The bowl?
Yeah.
What is that big tower? Is that just for it to stand on?
Mm-hmm. So
or does it have water in it?
This holds a lot more than the old water tower, first of all. Secondly, in doing this, and we're phasing it because the cost is substantial, as we know. So you don't try to do them all in 1 year. So there's one on Milwaukee that's already completed.
Right.
But the one at 50th Indiana is behind a little bit because of weather, and that'll be done by the end of the month, I believe. But here's the neat deal. Right now, we spend a whole lot on electricity, y'all, with pump stations because Lubbock's so flat that we pump water throughout the city. So as we replace these towers, the physics go to work, and the engineering is dynamic to where we'll lower electric cost for our water system. Yeah. It's a fantastic asset long term.
Very quickly, we have a texter that asks, is there any update on new homeless shelter that would clear out the downtown area?
I think there's a committee at work on that. I'm not involved. I'm not on the committee, but I appreciate folks working on it. You know, the last data I saw, and yes, we've all seen homeless throughout our city, is our homeless community. I feel sorry for those folks. The numbers are actually down. Some of our homeless campuses do a great job taking care of those folks. But is it always a problem? Yes, it's always a problem. Does it totally go away? Never.
No, it'll never go away.
It'll never go away.
We've always had them. Always will. That's just part of life.
Right, but the committee is working on it.
Yeah. Well, it's 7:51, and Dave King, Matt Martin, and Councilman Jeff Griffith with us this morning. We'll be back with more right after this.
Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We're last segment here with Councilman, Lubbock City Councilman Jeff Griffith. And we were talking during the break, and one of the other things that went yesterday is you've got a little bit of news on what's going on out there at the airport.
Yes, Matt, we really good news. We talked about the American Rescue Act. Some of that can be used for the airport. I failed to mention that. But the airport, that we are in the remodel on. We believe will be done by the end of summer. Folks need to be patient. Obviously, everybody's back out traveling, which we're excited about. So a lot of full flights coming and going is great news for our city. But the ultimate is that airport is going to be something everybody's going to be proud of. Every Lubbockite's going to be proud of our airport. And much more efficient, and getting through TSA is going to be a whole lot better, and you won't have the log jams.
Well, and don't forget the brick with your luggage.
We eliminated the da-da-da-da-da. Good point. I forgot about that.
Oh.
What are you talking about?
The bricks that you
On the
walk
runway?
on. No. When you walk in the airport.
Dragging your suitcase.
Yeah, your
I got
suitcase
you.
hits
All
the
right.
bricks. It's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get rid of those.
They're gone, Mr. King.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So you're welcome. I didn't. Hey, don't worry. I was not the contractor, so it's probably done properly.
Well, hey, and one other thing, we have a texture here that's brought up the Sanctuary City thing, and that's something we haven't talked about very quickly. What's the status with our Sanctuary City?
A few weeks ago, locally, the court basically threw out the suit, so it will probably move possibly to another court, to a higher court, but with an appeal, or they may try to go after the state.
Has the city hired counsel?
Yes, we did.
Is it local?
One component was, one was not. One firm was local, one was not. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, but
So right now,
it's in place.
We're just sitting on steady ready, just waiting on the next move. Oh,
Yes, honestly, good.
basically it.
Yeah, but it's in place, and honestly, my understanding is that Planned Parenthood is not doing abortions right now because there's a financial lawsuit aspect there that they're not willing to.
I believe
worry
that was.
about. So,
I believe that was a statement. Yeah.
Hey, at least for now, I think it's all positive. But
Well, the neat thing is that applaud what the court did, federal court here locally. So that was handled very rapidly.
yeah. So that's I think that's about it.
Yeah, we've
got 1 minute left.
Anything that you wanted to cover in particular?
The next thing we'll do is analyze. There's been we talked about the charter review. We'll analyze that in the next few weeks and see about getting that up to speed to where we can put it on the November city election for the voters to analyze those components and also these street bonds.
Okay.
So we'll see what we can do there.
Councilman, thank you so much for coming out and bringing us up to speed on what's happening in our city. And we'll look forward to seeing you, I guess, next month? And as you come out once a month and bring us up to speed on the city business. At any rate, thanks again. And Dave and Matt in the morning here on KFYO. We'll take this 8 o'clock break. We'll be right back.
Thank you.